This weekend, Elestrals had its second official tournament of the Moonrise metagame. So today, I thought we would go through and take a look at all the top 8 lists and give you my opinions on them. So without further ado, let's get into the deck list. Starting off, we have Burlock's top 8 list. Now, normally I do the Elestrals first, however, I just put it in how the tournament deck list showed it to me in that specific order, which is how they inputted it. So if they input their runes first and then the Elestrals, that's the order that it's going to appear, so that's the order that we're going to cover it by. But starting off with his runes, everything looks pretty typical here, with the exception of Artemis and Rockin' a Hard Place. I like everything else pretty much. Altar I'm not really a fan of. I feel like it's a win more card. Honestly, I would rather play Shield. I think Shield is a lot better than Altar in every way. I think just Altar having to rely on having a lot of functioning parts is not really that great. So that's why I'm not really a fan of Altar. I just like the Shield because it can always play on its own. But he's playing the Artemis and the Rockin' a Hard Place. He's playing Artemis for the suppression fact because a lot of Elestrals right now do rely heavily on their ability. And so just Artemis being able to shut it off is extremely strong. Also, the fact that Artemis can also shut down Zeus and Demeter along with stadiums is also extremely strong because Artemis says specifically card. It doesn't say Elestral. So that is one thing to keep in mind, is you can prevent somebody from swinging back with Zeus by playing Artemis. And Rockin' a Hard Place, I like this because it's right now people are pretty much just setting one to avoid Hurricane. So he's got Rockin' a Hard Place here in order to say you're either going to destroy your Elestral or your one back row, and then he's able to probably destroy the back row or the Elestral, not the back row, with his guy that he brings onto the field. So it's pretty much your guy is dying no matter what. Are you also losing your back row? And then if they do decide to set 2, maybe 3, he can easily just Hurricane them. This thought never came to my mind. I always just thought about using Thunderstorm in this place, but the fact that Rockin' a Hard Place can't be chained and he's playing a lot of Lunar and Water is extremely strong in this deck. Moving on to the Elestrals here. Got 3 Astro Rabbit because it's broken. Eddie is really strong. The ability to swap position is good. Fawnlet here, I like it. I kind of like Chick a little more. I'm not really sure. I'm going back and forth on it because you can easily just either alter a Water Spirit to Fawnlet or just re-enchant it on the next turn in order to pair with Galaxy, since Fawnlet will buff its defense. And also you can just sit on Fawnlet's defense since it'll be pretty big as long as you have a few spirits on Artemis. Galaxy is extremely strong right now, just it gets around Nobby, everything else. The one card I really don't like in this deck is the Comalis here, because it only has 4 searching targets. Even looking at the side deck, he doesn't have anything to search with it in the side deck. So I'm not really a fan of the Comalis. I get the point is kind of to find the Posthumous so you can utilize it. However, I just don't like it. I'm not really a fan of it. I would at least cut it down to 2, if not just cut this completely and find a different card to put in there. Possibly play like 2 Werepup and a Leica Void, that way you can utilize the full moon in order to go into your Posthumous when you find it. But that just feels like a lot of investment, and I'm not really too much of a fan of it. He's got 5 Leviathan, 10 Owloon here. I think this is a little heavy, but he does have a very lunar heavy side deck, so he might have felt like he needed specifically this and he couldn't go any lower. But personally, I would cut 1 and then put another Zaptor in there, so that way you can at least re-enchant Rabbit and also play Hurricane if you want. Or you can play 2 Rabbits and a Hurricane. Just having 2 makes it to where you can only play 1 Rabbit, 1 Hurricane at most, or 2 Rabbits. So I'm not really a fan of it because I constantly will re-enchant my Rabbit. I like to have a lot of Thunder Spirits in there. But yeah. For his side deck, like I said, he's got a very heavy Lunar package. His side deck is pretty much, you're not on Lunar, I'm gonna be on Lunar. He's got 3 Dense Fog, 3 Toxiri, 2 Nobby, 1 Doppelgator, 2 Necrolith. So just the suppression control aspect, utilizing the Toxiri to grab Dense Fog and possibly get Necrolith out and pop stuff. I think the Toxiri and Dense Fogs could go down to 2 each, because Toxiri is essentially another copy of Dense Fog. So by running 3 of these and 3 of these, you have 6 copies of Dense Fog pretty much, and that kind of seems a little redundant and a little too much, especially for a card that I really don't feel like is going to be doing too much. But that's just my opinion on it. I haven't really ran this deck too much to notice if this is a needed third or not. He's also got Divine Blessing here. This will stop Hurricanes, any of the Blizz matchup pretty much. I always play Divine Blessing right now. I think it's extremely strong. I've been telling people since Frostfall it's strong. And then he's got Spoiled Fruit for the heal matchup. Overall, I like his deck. Like I said, the only real change that I would make personally is just 1 more Zaptor, 1 less Owloon, and then just cut this completely for, you know, like something else, like the Werepup combo or anything else that I might even throw the Navi Doppelgators in main and then put something else in the side deck rather than utilizing these Comalises, because I just feel like that would be a little clunky in my opinion. But he made it to top 8, so I mean, it can't be too bad. Let's move on to the next deck. And in 7th place, we have Viper's Fire Nexus deck. Pretty standard stuff here, with the exception of he's got 0 Tsunami in his deck. He's just running 3 Gorgons, 3 Poison Tip, 2 Shield. And then he's on 3 Eruption. He was very confident that nobody else was going to be on fire, so he was playing 3 Eruption main deck. Which, I mean, that's honestly a very, very fair assumption due to the fact that fire's not very popular. 3 Eruption, in the main deck, I feel like is fine. But, just moving forward with this being in top 8, I would be aware of that. Probably cut that down to 2 because people might start looking at fire now. But he's got 3 Volcanic Forge. He really needs this. This is his Nexus bank. There's no getting around it. He has to have all 3 of them. 3 Cryoblast, because this deck can very easily fall behind a 5 styles deck, so he always has to have that type of removal and has to be able to stick on the board. 2 Thunderstorm here. I guess he just assumed that everybody was going to be playing around Hurricane now, so let's use Thunderstorm to play around the fact that people are playing around Hurricane. I like it. Nothing really too much to comment on. I would like to find a place for Tsunamis in here somewhere. Probably just go 2 Eruption, 2 Cryoblast, and then run the Tsunamis, and then sight in the 3rd Cryoblast or Eruption when you need it. But that's just my opinion on it, because I think Tsunami is an extremely strong card, especially you have 2 of the big rabbits here that can really utilize it, due to the fact that they just have big defenses, so even if they play something like Eddie, you can still utilize Tsunami to your benefit. So I really think you should just consider playing Tsunamis. But he's got 2 Ash Rabbit here. This is a really good card. I think this card, the later and more cards that we have, the more we're going to be looking at this card as a just insane card. 3 Kinleo, because Kinleo is pretty much the best card that Fire has to offer. As long as you can keep Kinleo safe, they really can't do much against it. So that's part of why also I think you need the 3 Tsunamis, is because Kinleo does need to stay safe in order to function properly. 1 Lavalith in case he gets behind. Lavalith, just being able to naturally play it in your element is extremely strong, so I don't really see a reason not to play it. People are already starting to side back in Lavalith, and they're starting to put some in main decks, again, because of how prevalent the playing 1 back row is at the moment. So Lavalith being able to play it naturally, I like it a lot. Got 3 Rummikul here. This is to make sure that you can find your Nexus bank, your stadium. I don't think he plays Stoke the Forge at all. I'm pretty sure this is literally just a stadium searcher. Rummikul, I really wish it had 3 attack, because it would be so much better if it was just a 3-2. The fact that even with the stadium, Rummikul can't hit a 5 attack stat kind of really sucks. He's got 3 Necro here as his 5 attacker. 2 Smoltuga, probably due to the fact that Galaxy is very prevalent and it's able to search out any of his fire guys. so he can easily just play this on somebody's Galaxy, find one of his fire guys, and then crash with Galaxy. So I really like this pick here. I like the fact that he's got the 3 different bodies with 5 defense. That makes it extremely hard for people to get over it. He can literally just sit there. And that explains why the 3 eruptions are there, because he can literally just constantly sit there and they can't really do much, and they have to spend a bunch to get over him, and then he can just eruption them for game. Got 4 Thunder Spirits here, because the 2 Thunderstorm and Aster Rabbit, I like it. Good amount here. He can utilize it, re-enchant, play a second Rabbit, or utilize it for 2 Thunderstorms. It's literally the perfect amount. 2 water, probably for a misenchant, and also the fact that he's playing 1 Smoltuga. 2 Flare Mine for the Cryoblast, and then the rest of it fire, because the rest of his deck's fire. I mean, makes sense to me. I don't really see a reason why you need any other spirits in your deck. Moving on to the side deck. Yeah, I don't, you don't really have too much that you need other spirits for, even in your side deck, so I like the spirit deck. It's very clean, very efficient. He's got 2 Divine Healing here. The reason being is that he's playing Zeus, and he's not on a crap ton of Thunder Spirits, and he doesn't want to have to force them in. He does have 1 Thunder Spirit in the side deck, that way, because as you can see, he's on Arclith. He can utilize Arclith to its fullest potential with the 5. If you only had 4, you couldn't do that, so I like it in the side deck. Plus, also, if you put Zeus in, you're going to want the extra spirits. Got Argo here, because just Kinleo's very easy to kill, and Argo being surprised is a good thing. I don't like the fact that you're only on 1 thing for Argo, though. That makes it if, say you get hit by Lumaru Mill, or just for any reason. Can this go from hand, too? It can go for hand, okay. At least if you draw into Necklace, you're not bricking it totally, because you can play it from hand, but I still don't like just having the 1 for the Argo, because you can also utilize the necklaces and all that other stuff for a Nexus Bank for Kinleo, so I would consider putting a second one in there. Got Alter. Here's the Tsunamis that I was talking about, so I guess he's got it inside deck with these not playing against water. Alter, because he's going to be utilizing a lot of spirits on the board between the Necklace, the Zeus, the Stadiums, and possibly just re-enchanting for the Kinleo effects. And then 2 Krakatuga as a surprise here. I like it. You can literally easily just side right into Krakatuga and then just burn them for 6 out of nowhere, destroy a card, and just win the game off of that. Krakatuga, I think, is a sideboard card to consider moving forward if you're playing Fire, because it does have a lot of explosive potential, especially with eruptions. And in 6th place, we have Adam with his Genie Draco Ray deck. Now, I'll be honest, I really didn't see this deck coming. I didn't see Solar doing a whole lot of anything, and it just kind of took me by surprise. I did play him in Swiss, and he is one of my 2 losses that I had. It was a very close game. Lumaru actually ended up winning him the game with his mill effect, unfortunately. Not talking anything bad, he just got the luckiest set of mills, literally milled 3 guys in a row, and then I was just top decked into Hurricane Ambrosia, and while he was just able to beat up on me. Because he was just able to mill the 3 guys in a row. It was just unfortunate for me in that situation, but he played everything else very, very well, so I don't want to sit there and say, oh, it was just luck. That situation was just very unfortunate, and I just want to state that first and foremost. But I like this deck a lot. He utilizes the Draco Ray First Light package in order to guarantee the fact that he'll be able to trigger his Winjin and put it into Tornigen. So that is pretty much the whole game plan, is just utilizing the First Light package to go into Draco Ray and Tornigen. Sometimes simultaneously, other times you'll just kind of do it for one of them. Either utilizing it to go into either one is extremely strong. Tornigen and Winjin will get you resources as long as you're able to call the stuff right off the Winjin first. So as long as you First Light, you can easily get whatever you First Lighted to the top of your deck. and then go into Tornagin, and Tornagin will just get you a lot of resources as long as it's able to stay even more than one turn. You're essentially getting 3 cards off of this combo, which is extremely strong, and you're putting an 8 body on the board. Then there's the Drake Array that when it comes out, it heals for 3, and that's also extremely strong. Pair it with Ascending over Calf Melt, and you're literally healing for 6 in a single, like, Ascension, and that's nuts. Like, that's kind of unprecedented right now. The one thing that this deck really does need to look out for is Spoiled Fruit's existence, so Drake Array can easily kill it, and then Cryoblast can kill the big guy. But other than that, I like the deck. I like the Elestrals. He's running 3 First Light because he needs to guarantee both the Windjin proc and that he has it for his Cock Array, so this card is very valuable in this deck. He's got 3 Ambrosia here for heals, obviously, 2 Hurricane for setting, or it's for guaranteeing that his combos will go off. Got 1 Earthquake here, 1 Laurels, 3 Gorgons, 3 Shield, 3 Tsunami, 2 Zeus, no PTA, which I would find room for PTA somewhere, even if you gotta go 2 Shield, 2 Tsunami, 2 PTA. I'm a really big fan of PTA. Anything that has the word remove, personally, I really like. But, yeah. Moving on to a Spirit deck, 7 Luminate, because he's on a lot of Solar, 5 Zaptor, 3 Leviathan, 2 Terratlas for the Earthquake, 2 Lycoris for... Oh yeah, he needs it for his Windjins and Tornagins, and also his Hurricane. And then the 1 Vipyro for his Drake Array. All this looks pretty clean. There's not really anything that I would say or change Spirit Math-wise on it. I don't... It just looks really clean. Moving on to his side deck. Got 1 Calf Mel in case he's got to heal more and it's a very grindy game. 2 Galaxies in case his opponents are on Galaxies. 2 Temple of the Sun, probably just for 5s matchups. It makes Calf Mel a 5 defense, makes Lumaru 6 attack. Makes it to where you can't get Cryoblasted with your Tornagin. That is one very important thing, because Cryoblast will minus it 2, and the Temple of the Sun will put it up to 3 defense. He's got the 3 PTA in the sideboard, I guess if he feels like he really needs more removal. 2 Divine Blessing, and then 2 Spoiled Fruit. Yeah, I think I would just find a way to, like, I would put 2 of them into the sideboard, or in the main deck, just run 2, 2, 2, and then run all, like, 1 Shield, 1 Tsunami, 1 PTA in the side deck, and then pick out whichever ones you feel like you're needing or not needing at that point in time. Because just shutting yourself off completely of removal, I don't ever agree with. And then the 1 Flare Mine in case the Cryoblasts are coming in. Makes sense. Yeah, I've personally talked to him about PTA though. He's not too much of a fan of it. I am. That's why it's in the sideboard, I guess. But yeah, that's pretty much the deck. I like it. It heals really well. It actually functions a lot better than you would think it would on paper. You would think that Windjin would whiff a lot. But as long as you're, 1, writing your foretells down, you can utilize them to know what you're going to hit with a second Windjin. And 2, as long as you really have good deck knowledge of what your deck is, the longer the game goes on, the more that you can utilize your Underworld and your hand to predict what is left in your deck. As long as you are, like I said, have good deck knowledge, that will very much increase your likelihood of hitting the Windjin proc. And coming in 5th place, we have JJPM with his 5s list. Now, if you'll remember, this list looks pretty similar, and that's because it's very close to my list. I just had 1 Moose Station, no Foamy, I had the 2 Viscerus instead, and then this Galaxy was a Spectaris, and this is my entire Elestral lineup. So I really like it. Personally, I prefer the Viscerus over the Foamy just because of the more aggressive playstyle that I have. Foamy, in my opinion, is a more defensive card that allows you to just go into other stuff. It does allow you to attack and not be punished, however, Viscerus just has more of an offensive presence in the fact that you can kill something and summon it rather than having it killed and then resummon something. So, moving on to the runes here. Very standard stuff here. He's got Earthquake, Tsunami, Zeus, Hurricane, Ambro, Laurels, PTA, Shield, and Gorgons. I like all of this. I would probably just run the third PTA instead of the Shield, but that's just preference. I really like the removal aspect. Actually, instead of the third, taking out the third Shield, I would probably take out the third Tsunami and put that inside deck, just in case they are on water. That way you always have your full copies of removal. But that's just my personal preference. I always like cards that say remove. Moving on to his Spirit deck, very efficient. He's got 2 Earth for his Earthquake. He's got 8 Leviathan for the water half of the deck. 5 Zaptor for his Astrabbits, Elichix, Zeus, and Hurricane. 1 Lycaris for his Hurricane. 1 Flurmine because he's got Cryoblast in the side deck. And then 3 Owloon because he's on a very small lunar package. You don't really need more than 3 Owloon. I feel like that's a very good number there. He's got 2 Boombat here because in the side deck, because Blistrix and big guys are kind of very prevalent right now, so just being able to play Boombat, kill it, and then essentially reset the board after they put a lot into getting that combo out is extremely strong. He's got 2 Cockadoodle just because of Galaxy being very prevalent right now. It can easily just come out, suppress that Elestral, and then destroy it. Also, one thing to note is that it can force a crash with Specteris because Specteris only gets its +1 attack by utilizing its ability, so Cockadoodle can suppress it before the attack and then force the crash. And then he's got 3 Cryoblast for 5's Dex and that. 2 Thunderstorm because if they're playing around Hurricane, he can easily just side that out, play into the Thunderstorm. 2 Waxing Gibbous for a Lunar matchup, and then 3 Divine Blessing for any type of Blizz matchup, possibly Hurricane or anything like that. I like the deck. I like the sideboard. Not too much I would change. Like I said, the only thing I would really change is just making the Tsunami a PTA here, and then possibly just going down like 1 guy or something like that, so that way you can fit Cryoblast in there, possibly go down to 2 shields for the 2 Cryoblast in the main deck, just because I really heavily prefer removal. That's just my own personal opinion. I think removal is king. But let's move on to the top 4 list. In 4th place, we have Distant Coder with playing Lunar Aggro. This is my only other loss of the day other than Adam. We had a very close game, and it came down to a 0-0 game where he was just able to get Nobby, kill a guy, play Doppelganger, and I just wasn't able to get through it as he continuously beat me down and won the game off of that. But I liked his deck pretty much. We'll see it's a very similar deck to what all the other Lunar Aggro decks that are played here. Got 3 Rabbit, 3 Eddie, of course, because these are the most dominant Elestrals in the game right now. 3 Werepup, 3 Nobby, just because Lunar Aggro always plays these 3 along with the Lycavoid and the Doppelganger to go with it. 1 Elichix, 2 Galaxy because it pairs really well with the Nobby here, because Galaxy's defense is its attack, so Nobby and Doppelganger's effect doesn't affect Galaxy at all. Got Specteris because Galaxy is pretty prevalent right now, so it shuts it down. Also, it's a 5 attacker in Lunar, and a lot of Elestrals right now are currently relying heavily on their ability, so Specteris is an extremely strong Elestral at the moment. He's got 2 copies of Full Moon to find off of his Werepup, and to trigger into his Lycavoid. 2 Cryoblast for any 5s matchups, also killing other Lycavoids, stuff like that. 2 Tsunami to prevent combat, unless it's Galaxy or Eddie. Then you got 3 Ambrosia, because Ambrosia's kind of literally always played. Got 1 Earthquake, because Earthquake is unconditional removal. 1 Laurels for pretty much the same reason, with the exception of they have to have 2 more Spirits, which pretty easy in this game. Got 3 Gorgons, 3 Shield here. No PTAs, which I'm not really a fan of, but I mean, he ended up beating me, so I can't really say too much. I'd really like having PTA in the main deck. I'm not really a fan of not having it in the main deck. But again, he beat me, so what can I really say? Got 1 Lycaris, 5 Zaptor, 7 Owloon, 4 Leviathan, 1 Flare Mine for the Cryoblast, and then 2 Turretlas for the Earthquakes. All these numbers make sense, nothing really to sneeze at. You don't really need much more, you don't really need more or less of any of these numbers. This feels very comfortable for all of them. Galaxy, Spectrus for the mirror matchups, you pretty much put both of those in. They're both just extremely strong. Spectrus shuts down galaxies, so if you notice they're on galaxies, obviously you're gonna pretty much bring both of these in to shut down your enemy's galaxy. Then you got 1 Cryoblast inside in case for more 5s matchups, 1 Tsunami, 2 Thunderstorm here if they're playing around a Hurricane, 2 Waxing Gibbous for the Lunar matchup, 1 New Moon here because it's pretty much like Earthquake, except also you don't have to use it that way. You can just pay the 1, suppress the Elestral, and possibly get over it. Got 2 Spoiled Fruit here for any type of heal matchup, 2 Dense Fog, probably just for galaxies. I'm not really sure what that. I would run the Toxeria with these if I were to run Dense Fogs in the side. Or at least like Necrolith or something that really benefits more off of it. I don't really see too much of a point of putting these in the side except for Galaxy. But I'm not really a fan of those in the side right now with everything else that he's got in the side. Got 2 Zaptors in case he is bringing in the Thunderstorms. That way he can just bring out the Lycaris, and not really sure what else he would bring out specifically. Probably matchup dependent and probably just depended on what else he was siding in or out. But yeah, I like the deck overall. He beat me. Good games to Coder. Congratulations on your top 4. And like I said, I like the deck. It's kind of very, at this point, cookie cutter Lunar aggro with the exception of the sideboard. This is kind of looks like his own design. And we'll move on to the next list. Also coming in 4th, we have Caleb with his Heal Stall list. Now with Spoiled Fruit coming out, everybody kind of just assumed Heal Stall was dead and nobody's been playing it. But he kind of just proved it wasn't, taking it all the way to top 4. There's not too much different about this deck than when it was played previously. I don't really think there's much of anything different about this deck from when Heal Stall was played previously. It's got the 2 Lavalith, 1 Equalinks, Elechic, Rabbits, and then all the heal guys, plus your Galaxies and your Eddies. So yeah, looks extremely strong in the Elestral package. For the Rune package, he's playing Argo stuff. He's got a pretty decent sized Argo package to go along with the Equalinks here. He also, because he's playing Heal Stall, he really doesn't care too much about taking like 4 damage essentially to put an artifact out, as long as it enables like him to win combat, a removal spell or whatever. He's essentially going to play back another guy the next turn, and it's like that Argo never even happened. So he gets to win combat, plus also just play out other guys and keep his guys safe with the Argo combination and not be punished by it due to the fact that he is healing just so much. This deck just heals so much, it's insane. Necklace of Harmonia, I watched him actively Argo Necklace of Harmonia onto a Rabbit in top 8. I think it was Rabbit. It was either Rabbit or Sluggle, one of the two. Necklace of Harmonia onto the Rabbit or the Sluggle, the 2-attacker, so that way Burlock's Necrolith crashed with it and they both died, and then he was just like, yeah, I'll just heal back the spirits the very next turn. It was a little disgusting, honestly. He's got the Demeter here for the Equalinks, Zeus to win combat, then all the removal stuff. No Tsunami, which is kind of surprising. Probably just because it doesn't actively remove the threat. It just kind of sits there on the board and he doesn't have too much to win combat. So it makes sense that he's just more worried about getting everything off the board and keeping it off the board or killing it completely. For his Spirit deck here, it's extremely clean. 7 Leviathan because he's on a lot of water, 6 Zaptor because he's on a lot of thunder, and then 5 Turretlas because he's on a lot of earth. Got the 2 Vipyro for side deck. That's right. You'll see in a sec, it's in the side deck here why he's got the Vipyro. So he's got side deck, he's got 1 Flare Mine here, and 3 copies of Boombat. His whole thing with Boombat is pretty much just you can't stick a guy and eventually you'll run out of resources while I'm constantly healing and I have resources. And then this is what the 2 Fire Spirits are for right here. He's got 2 copies of Eruption, which with Heal Stall makes a lot of sense as a very good finisher. He can just heal, 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 dwindle down his enemy, and then just say Eruption for game, you die, I win. So I like it, makes sense. Makes it to where his only win condition isn't necessarily time in 3rd game. So I like that a lot. He's got 3 Divine Blessing to say no to Hurricane. Pretty much that's it. As you need your back row, and Divine Blessing having the ability to just give up one of your guys who you already utilize its effect to heal for in order to save all 3 of your back row, possibly, or 4 or 2, whatever. This deck really doesn't care about Hurricane too much due to the ability to just always play a guy, kill it off, and just not care about it. Got 3 Spoiled Fruit for mirror heal matchup, and also for like solar or stuff like that. And then 3 Cryoblast for 5s matchups. I think this deck is built very well. I like Caleb, but I hate this deck, not because it's not built well, not anything that. This deck is built fantastically. I just hate Heal Stall. It is very good, and I am not a fan of it. It bores me, and that is not talking anything bad on Caleb. That is simply the deck. I'm not a fan of the deck itself. I'm not a fan of Heal Stall, but like I said, this deck is extremely powerful, even though I am not personally a fan of it. And for our last deck list, we have both the runner-up and the champions deck list because they built it together and we're literally on the exact same cards. So rather than building 2 deck lists and going through them separately, we're just going to go through this one because it is the same exact list card for card. As you can see, this is pretty much Coder's Lunar Aggro list as far as the elestrals go. The exact same lineups, the exact same numbers and everything. So like I said, kind of cookie cutter Lunar Aggro at this point. This is what you're playing if you're playing Lunar Aggro. There's not much variation that you're going to be doing Elestral wise. The variation is pretty much going to be coming out of your runes in your side deck, if anything. So you've got 3 Ambrosia here, obviously, for the heals. 2 Cryoblast, because, again, like I said, the only deck that this doesn't work against, I mean, I guess technically there's 2 right now, is Blistrix and Morfrost, but the rest of the field, this is fantastic against. So taking it out just for 1 or 2 decks kind of seems redundant in my opinion, and they also ended up agreeing with me. Just last week they didn't have last tournament they didn't have this in the main deck, and now they do. Got 2 Zeus here. Zeus is extremely strong, just allowing you to walk over anything in combat, plus pairing it with Cryoblast just makes for a differently colored Earthquake here, which they have Earthquake and Laurels. And then you've got the 3 Shield, 3 Gaze, 2 Tsunami, 2 Poison Tipped Arrow. The reason why they're only on the 2 of each is because they have to have the 2 full moons in here in order to trigger the Leica Void. So otherwise they would definitely probably be on the 3 and 3. Moving on to Spirit deck here. Nothing really too exciting. Kind of just the same. I'm pretty sure this is literally the same as Coder's Spirit deck, Spirit for Spirit. It's very clean. Yeah, I like it. Doesn't really feel like they need anything else, anything extra. Doesn't really feel like they're missing anything. It looks really clean. And then their side deck is a little wonky. They've got 1 Arcolith, which I guess if they're assuming that people are going to be going wide as much as possible, playing Arcolith is pretty good. But I'm not really too much of a fan of it, and I actively watched their deck recap, and they weren't really a fan of this card playing it either. So that's just kind of how it is. Arcolith in concept is very good right now into the 5s meta and to other stuff, but in reality it just doesn't end up working out how you would like it to. Got 1 Lavalith in the side deck, just probably in case they're just only setting 1 and it's easy to destroy. They said they didn't really, they said they weren't really too much of a fan of this, but Bean Soldier, who was on their same exact list, loved this. I like it personally. I like just being able to drop a big guy and then easily just destroy their back row, destroy their good dude, and just pretty much wipe their entire board at that point. Got one Specteris here, one Galaxy, just because they didn't really want to dedicate themselves too much either way to playing either card, so this allowed them to play 3 copies of both of them and put them in as needed. One Cryoblast inside in case they needed it for like 5s matchups or something like that. One PTA if they needed more removal. 2 Waxing Gibbous here for the Lunar Mirror Maid match. 3 Hurricanes in the side deck. Hurricane, it's a very divisive card right now because it literally just depends on how much people are playing around it, and that's kind of what I said from the beginning, is we're just going to go in cycles with this card of this card's broken, this card's mid, this card sucks, this card's broken, this card's mid, this card sucks. And right now we're in the this card's mid phase because this card can easily pay out extremely well if they don't bother to play around it, or it can be extremely strong if you need to specifically play it for like a 1-turn instance where you just need to guarantee like your Nobby gets over something and you get into Doppelganger. However, it's very expensive. 3 in order to possibly destroy 1 rune if that's all you're destroying. Yeah, I get you're getting everything off, but you could easily just Thunderstorm and then do the same exact thing if they're only playing 1 rune at that point. You know what I mean? So Hurricane is just kind of in the point of the cycle right now where it's mid, and then we're going to slowly move to the point where everybody's playing around it, so it's bad, and then everybody's going to side it out or take it out of their deck, and then all of a sudden it's going to be fantastic because nobody's playing around it again. So it's just kind of how this card is built, and that's just that. Got 1 Tsunami in here in case they're not playing a lot of water and they need more just turning their guys sideways. The 1 Lycris for the Hurricanes. I don't like the 1 Lycris for 3 Hurricanes in case you gotta play 2 of them. I'm not really a fan of the 1 Spirit for the 3 runes because I've noticed that it just sometimes doesn't work out. And even in my list, I know I ran 1 Flurmine for 3 Cryoblast. In my game against Coder, had I had 2 Flurmines, I could have Cryoblasted Ambrosia'd and then utilized it again to Cryoblast a second time. But I only had a single Flurmine in my Spirit deck, and I was forced to either expend or utilize it earlier in the game, and so I could not double Cryoblast in order to kill and win the game. So that's personally an instance where I really don't like having just a single Spirit for 3 cards, but Hurricane might be one where you're able to get away with it because you might not necessarily need it as frequently as a Cryoblast. And then they've got the 2 Fire Spirits for the Lavalith here. Overall, obviously, they won. I can't really say too much about their deck. The only thing is I didn't like the Arcolith, and then that's pretty much it. Is I didn't like the Arcolith, they didn't like the Arcolith. Not much else to be said about it. So that is all of the top 8 deck list. Let me know what you guys want to see. If you want to see me do, if you guys enjoy this kind of content, let me know down in the comments below. And I hope you all have a good day, and peace.